Hi, my name is Jeff Elliott. I'm the Associate Director of Advising for the College of Arts and Sciences.
Hello, everybody. My name is George Drennan. I'm Executive Director of Undergraduate Programs for the Haslam College of Business.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Willoughby. I serve as the Assistant Director for Undergraduate Programs in the Haslam College of Business.
Hi, my name is Shana Pendergrass, and I am an Assistant Director in the College of Arts and Sciences Advising Services. I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off on the first section of the presentation. So the first thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about is the mission of advising here at the University of Tennessee. Advising is placed under the teaching and learning mission here at the university because we recognize how important and crucial it is to a student's success. We also really believe that it's a shared responsibility, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, that there are things that the student brings to the table as well as things that the academic advisors bring to the table. And really our goal is to help the students develop educational plans that are going to help them to reach their personal goals and make sure that their values are placed in there and their career plans, and really help them to go on and be a lifelong learner and a productive citizen. Along with that, we also wanted to make sure that we shared the advising policy with you guys. This is the general university-wide advising policy. And so students are required to meet with an academic advisor each semester, the fall and the spring, until they've completed 30 hours at the University of Tennessee, as long as they're on an exploratory track, and we'll talk a little bit more about U-track later as well, if they're identified as off track for their major, and if they're on academic probation. This policy is as I mentioned, the general university-wide policy, but each academic college has their own advising policy as well. So it's important that students are aware of how the requirements look a little different from college to college. And then once a student has met those, again, the general university-wide requirement is that they meet with an academic advisor at least once a year. But our preference is, and we welcome them to meet with us more often. To give you a little bit of information about the advising models at the university, we have professional full-time academic advisors, we have faculty who serve as academic advisors, and different colleges use different combinations of those to help meet their advising needs. And so the first model is a professional model, and that's where students will meet with one of the full-time professional advisors for all of their academic advising the whole time that they're here as a student. And faculty serve more of a mentorship role, where students can talk to them about their classes or what they might want to do later, or how an internship or practicum or any of those types of things. And the professional model is used in the Haslam College of Business as well as the College of Nursing. There's also a hybrid model where there are professional advisors who work with students in their first 2 years. And then once the student transitions into upper division courses, they're then assigned to a faculty advisor within the department. And with this model, in the first 2 years, we really try to focus on making sure that students are aware of policies, procedures, understand gen ed, understand how to use the various models that are available, not models, but resources that are available, which we'll talk about those a little bit more soon as well. And then when they're with their faculty advisor, that mentoring piece comes into play, as well as their advising when that's required. And the colleges of Arts and Sciences, Engineering, and Education, Health, and Human Sciences use that model. The final model is a faculty model, where faculty are serving as advisors from students from the point they come into the university in orientation through the point that they graduate. And the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources uses that model.
So one of the things that Shana mentioned when she's talking about the university mission regarding advising is, I think one of the most important phrases in that is the shared responsibility between the students and the advisors. We wanted to take a few minutes to clarify what we mean by that shared responsibility. First, in terms of the advisors themselves, we mentioned before, there's a combination, depending on the college, of professional staff and faculty who serve as advisors and mentors for students. Our major primary goal is to make sure that students have some way to connect with people at UT. I think we all believe that that's the most important factor in student success, is feeling like they're connected and being able to work with people here. So a big responsibility for our advisors is accessibility. We do make a good effort, including the fact that during orientation, so the students' very first experience at the university, our advising staff across all colleges will be meeting with students to make sure, number one, that they're getting the best possible information, but also that they can start the process of developing relationships with people here at UT, getting those professional relationships that are geared around their academic plans and their career goals. Accessibility is pretty important. Another part of this, though, is really just a sense of responsibility towards students' plans long term. Our advisors all understand that even the students who come in completely certain about what it is that they want to study still have a fairly limited range of experience with what it is that they're planning to do. And we know that students are going to discover new things. They're going to uncover areas of interest. They're going to find career paths that are maybe a little bit off of what it is that they planned, or maybe it's just the reality of what they thought that career plan was versus what it may actually be. And the responsibility for the advisors is to be able, number one, to prepare and help students through those conversations, to help students put together plans to get out and research, learn more about the school, learn more about career opportunities, and to stay accessible to students and to work with students about things like connecting them to resources. Our Center for Career Development is a great example of that. We work very closely with them so that students can get out and find out what they're studying, how that connects beyond the university. Our advisors challenge students. We want to see them get out and raise the bar for themselves academically. We want to see them get out and get involved in the university, to get involved in the community. We want to make sure that they understand also that the advisors are here as a support system for them. So the advisors take that very seriously. We have a note-taking system that across the campus we use so that we can share information. Students are not in a position anymore that they have to reintroduce themselves every time they talk to a different person. And I think building a network of information like that, having these advisors who are very serious about preparing to meet with students is really very important. So that's the advisor end of it. But as parents, I'm sure that student responsibility is something that you also want to make sure of. And I think it starts with a common misconception that students have, in that advising is about registering for classes. It's about signing up and picking courses for their degrees. That is a part of it, but it's probably the smallest part of it. More importantly, though, it's for students to start thinking about how everything that they do here all fits together in a whole, how they can personalize their educational experience. And doing that requires a student to be proactive. If we work together with students to help develop action plans, say a student wants to research a particular career, it really needs to be part of the student's responsibility to follow through on those plans, and be timely with the way that they do that, and then reconnect with either their advisors or their faculty mentors. We want students to constantly be questioning what it is that they're studying, why they're studying it. Our belief is that a student is best suited to answer questions when they have all the best possible information available to them. And we want them to be the ones that are proactive about that and following through. The truth is that one of the great things about UT is that people are always willing to take time to help students. I have always said that one of the things I love is that I can call anybody across this campus. If it's a student issue, they're going to take time for that. But there's one thing that's always missing, though, is that the students have to be the ones to initiate that help. So we want to remind them, and it's really very important as parents, that you encourage students to get out, meet people, to get to faculty office hours, to get connected and to follow through on those things. That's going to make all the difference in their success, and it's going to make a lot of difference in how they progress through their degrees.
And as Jeff implied, there's a lot of things that we want students to take ownership of. This is their education. We feel like they need to invest time and effort into it to get the maximum benefit from it. And also to ensure that goals are set and they understand what those goals are and how to work towards them. So we as academic advisors serve as one resource to students. And we're a resource that, that wants to be a way to cause students to think and question and examine themselves, find out their identity, and determine what directions they want to take. There's a lot of things that students can do on their own using other resources to establish some of the more mundane, what sorts of courses do I want to take, and free up more time for the academic advisor to play more of a mentoring role and a teaching role to help them think about these goals and outcomes. So some of the resources that our students have that they can proactively use to best maximize the return on their time when they meet with academic advisors include the undergraduate catalog, which lays out the requirements for a student's degree, but also lays out the requirements for all degree options for a student. So if a student starts in the College of Business, perhaps thinking about majoring in marketing, and they have some sort of experience or exposure that helps them realize that perhaps English is what they really want to major in. On their own, they can go to the undergraduate catalog and figure out where they're at and what sorts of things they need to do in order to pursue a different degree or different major. The catalog also serves as sort of the university's driver's manual, so to speak, for what a student has to do to navigate the university system. I tell students all the time, if they have a driver's license, they had to study a driver's manual in order to get that license. And if they get pulled over by a police officer, the police officer doesn't expect them to be able to recite all the details in the driver's manual. But the driver is expected to kind of understand what's in the manual and what the expectations are. So we encourage our students to be very familiar with the undergraduate catalog to understand their requirements. There's also the degree audit system, or DARS, which can help a student speculate about what they would have to do if they wanted to do a different major. It also helps them keep track of where they are in the progression towards the completion of their degree. So a student can go online and complete a DARS report at any point for the current major or a different major. And that's also the system that graduation services use to help ensure a student has met their degree requirements when they get close to completing their degree. Each college places major guides online, which helps students understand not only the specific coursework they need for a given major and a given degree, but also what particular opportunities a student might have with that major. This is convenient because they don't have to meet with someone in the Center for Career Development. They don't have to make an appointment with a faculty member, an academic advisor. It's very convenient for the students to research this information at their convenience. Each of the college's advising centers have websites that give a lot of really useful information to students about programs in that particular college. For example, the College of Arts and Sciences serves as the university's pre-professional advisors. They have advisors that are trained in things like pre-law and pre-health, and their website is an excellent resource for the students who are interested in those areas to help them understand how to get started in tracking in those directions. The websites usually also give very good information about the academic advisors and the administrative staff in those centers to help students identify with folks in those various centers. And usually the advising websites serve as the portal for creating advising appointments and accessing information that students have in the Grades First system. Grades First is the system that the university uses for students to make an advising appointment, many times with professional advisors and faculty advisors. It's also the system in which information about academic advising appointments is stored. So if a student meets with Shana to discuss their upcoming semester, Shana will make notes about what was discussed, and the student and the advisor both can refer back to that at a later date to confirm what was said. Also, if the student meets with Shana and then decides to meet with Mark in the Haslam College of Business to discuss other options, Mark can look at Grades First and see what was discussed with the advisor in the other advising office. So it allows us to share information about a student to ensure that we're all on the same sheet of music to help the student achieve their goals. Now, we do believe philosophically that academic advising is a shared experience between the advisor and the student to help the student achieve their goals and to be much more than, as we said, simply scheduling classes. However, we are committed to the idea that a student should complete their degree in a timely manner. No one benefits from a student spending more time at the university than they need to achieve their degree. Every student's different. Every student's going to take slightly different routes. They're going to try new things. They're going to be successful at some things and perhaps struggle with others. But ideally, we want a student to get done with their undergraduate degree in as close to 4 years as possible. One of the tools that we have here at the University of Tennessee to assist in that is the UTK system, or universal tracking. We will meet with a student in academic advising, and we will lay out a lot of different options for students. We'll help them understand all the different possibilities. We'll help them understand their choices between different courses. But sometimes a student can get confused about what they need for their degree and what they need to stay on track to complete their degree in a timely manner. For example, business students are required to have a natural science. It does not really matter when the student takes the natural science. It can be taken in their freshman year typically, but it could also be taken in their senior year and have no impact on a student's progression. However, a business student is also required to complete a calculus course. The student must complete that calculus course by a certain semester. If the student does not complete that calculus course by the given semester, it can push back a subsequent course, such as statistics. And that can interfere with a student completing their degree in 8 semesters or 4 years. So the UTK system is an additional check that goes along with academic advising to help a student understand what courses they must complete by a given semester in order to complete their degree in 4 years. So the student is in the system with a given major, and the system looks for those milestone courses that a student has to complete. And if the student is completing those courses, the system tells them they're on track. If the system believes the student will not complete the given course by the appropriate time, it will alert them in addition to their advisor working with them and let them know if you do not complete this course, you'll be off track. So this is a system to help ensure that our students are completing their degrees in a timely fashion.
Each one of the 9 colleges has different locations on campus for their advising services. And so we wanted to give you access to each one of the 9 colleges and just where their advising center is located, as well as a phone number to contact that advising center at. So we've listed each one of those out for you here. Additional information on each one of the advising centers can also be found at advising.utk.edu. And you can get to each one of the 9 colleges and to their specific advising center there as well. So that page is listed there for you. But we've also put some key dates, which are for each academic term. And so the university releases calendars for an academic year. And so we're wrapping up the spring term. And so classes are going to end on April 29th, and then students will move into exams on May 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 9th, and 10th. And so one of the things that I always like to point out to students is that they should go ahead, and if they're planning on leaving to go home, they shouldn't plan to leave before that last exam day, because that is one possibility that they could have an exam there at the very end of the period. And so it's always good to reference that. And so if a student goes to registrar.utk.edu, they can find these key dates calendars, both for financial aid information as well as for the key academic dates, when they can withdraw from a class, when they can't withdraw from a course anymore, when is final registration. And so we listed out some of the key dates for you as well for fall 2016, the upcoming academic term. And so classes are going to begin on August 17th, first session and second session right there at the beginning, mid part of October, and then exams, classes end November 29th, and then you've got exams and graduation there right at the beginning of December. Again, you can find the rest of the dates at registrar.utk.edu. Over on the left-hand side, there's an option for calendars, and then all the different academic calendars are listed there for you. But at this point, we wanted to go ahead and turn it over to some questions. We know we've given a brief overview of what advising is at the university and how some colleges work, but we also wanted to ask what questions you all might possibly have that we can help answer, or maybe provide you some additional contact or resources to get that answer.
So at this point, all of the participants are still muted, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the mute. I'm going to unmute everybody, and that way we can have a discussion and talk. I'll also stop the screen sharing so that you all can see who is talking, so that we can chat back and forth if you all have specific questions. One thing that we did discuss as a group that I'd like to pass on to you is if you could refrain from being too specific with your questions. We definitely don't want to violate any privacy laws or even get in that arena. So if you could just keep your questions more general, and definitely reach out to or encourage your student to reach out to his or her academic advisor with specific questions, or you can email one of the folks in this room so they can help you with specific questions. So now I will unmute everybody and then stop the screen sharing, but we'll still go. We've been going now for about 30 minutes. If you all get your questions answered and want to sign off, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to hear the discussion, we would love to hear you, or love to have you stay on as well. And we're inherently going to get some feedback just because people are moving around. There are things going on in the background of now 36 people's phones. So just bear with us, and if it's loud where you are, then mute your phone or mute your computer's audio. That would help us. Thank you.
Hi, I don't know how the order is in which of asking questions, so.
And there's not really one.
If we could raise a hand. I was looking for the raise your hand.
You are first. You're first.
So I'm curious about the pre-professional that you mentioned earlier. So without going specific, so my son is accepted to pre-professional. That's not really a major, is my understanding. He's pre-med specifically. So that's in the College of Arts and Sciences, but if he's pre-med, he's got to pick a major. What if the major's not in the College of Arts and Science, like it's in health or something like that, like kinesiology or something like that? What happens then?
That's a great question. It's a confusion point for a lot of students and parents, but in general, medical schools, law schools, most professional programs like these health and law programs, they're not really concerned with a specific major. Med school, as an example, does have a set of prerequisite courses, And for a lot of students, biology neatly fits into those. So they tend to choose that because they're already planning to take courses that'll occupy a lot of that major. But we've seen students take multiple majors and a combination of majors and minors. We've seen students major in French and go to medical school. Generally speaking, what they like to see is that a student has taken challenging courses, has taken on challenging semesters, maybe not necessarily every semester, but a nice load of courses to demonstrate that they can handle an academic load. They want to see the whole student as well, which is one of the reasons that a major itself is not necessarily a requirement. They like to see what the students did in terms of extracurriculars, what kinds of experience they have, shadowing, doing research and learning and having some kind of opportunity to experience what they do. So I'd say that's where it really starts, and it comes back to academic advising. Our advisors meet with students to talk about those, but we don't exclude students from other colleges. We're available to anybody, and generally we do see quite a few students from other colleges that they really have an interest in a major in another college, but ultimately they may want to prepare themselves for law school or dentistry or something along that line.
So they get advised within the College of Arts and Sciences because they're pre-med, even if the major's in engineering or something like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
Just for the pre-health portion of it, for the portion of advising regarding their courses for their major and having their advising flag cleared and all of that still takes place in the college home for the major they pick. So kinesiology would be education, health, and human sciences, or a business major to Heartland College of Business.
Right. He was accepted to pre-med, which is in the College of Arts and Sciences, but he's got to pick a major.
Correct.
So I was curious at what point that happens. Does it not matter for the first couple of years, like you were saying, where they're staying with a set of professional advisors until they go to a major? I'm just kind of curious.
Our advisors work with students who have selected professional as their major to try to help them find a major home, because as you mentioned, professional is more of a track. And so as soon as the student has identified that, and that's a viable option, then we direct them on how to get to the appropriate college.
Okay.
Obviously,
Thank you.
half
Appreciate
is
it.
plenty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, what other questions? What other questions do we have? Oh, we've got one here on
Half is excellent. Thank you.
we've got one here on the chat that's come up that someone said, is there a second acceptance process for pre-med? So we'll answer that verbally for the group.
I need a little bit of clarification. A second acceptance for the pre-med major at UT? Is that the question? Or so let me just for the group explain a little bit more about what our pre-professional majors are. All of our pre-professional majors, they're listed in the catalog because they are technically majors, but they're all 3+1 programs. And what that means is students take 3 years of really specific coursework here at the University of Tennessee, and it pushes everything forward. So if we look at medicine as a primary example, and thank you for the clarification in your question. If we look at an interest in medicine, then typically a student who's pre-med would take the MCAT at the end of their junior year, and then they're doing the application process that summer, and then interviews in the spring or in the fall of their senior year and all of that. If they're doing the 3+1 program, that pushes everything forward a year. And the only school that students are eligible to apply to is UTK Science Center in Memphis. And the 3+1 programs are an agreement with us saying we're all the University of Tennessee, and because of that, we'll accept the first year of medical school to count as a student senior year here at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and if they successfully complete that first year there, we'll award them a bachelor's degree. But that's not UT Health Science Center in Memphis giving any preference to those students. So they are applying with a whole batch of students who have an additional year of experience, an additional year of life, an additional year of coursework. The average age of a student in medical school is 24. So we don't have a lot of students who stick with the pre-med major. So coming back to the question about second admittance, we don't really see a lot of students switching their major to pre-med because that's really more of a track than it is a major, because the major is that 3+1 program. And when a student pursues a specific major at the university, and plans on applying to medical school and they complete a degree here, they can apply to multiple places. But if a student is doing that 3+1 program, they really are limited to applying to UT Health Science Center. And if not admitted there, then they would still need to complete a degree somewhere to apply anywhere else.
Yeah, and I want to add in on that because it's we've seen a trend with students pursuing a business discipline and then moving into completing the pre-med track in addition to that undergraduate major in business. And so yes, they still complete the admissions requirement for Classic College of Business and then do the pre-med classes. But they would kind of bounce back and forth between the two colleges, getting the what classes do I need to be taking when. And we do a lot of coordinating to try to make sure that they stay on a timely track if they need to do different things during the year in order to kind of maintain that timely progression and doing additional schooling after. So if the college that is different is outside of the College of Arts and Sciences and there's a major requirement or a major admissions process, yes, they still would have to meet that admissions process in the second college in addition to what they would be doing for the pre-med track.
Okay, we have a couple of questions that have come across in the text chat. That is a feature there at the bottom of your screen. If you don't have access to audio, if you're not connected via audio, you can send us a message and we will answer that. So the first one we have that has come through that we see is a general question about first year. Are first year students advised during registration? Do they receive their schedules then?
Well, let's start with first-time students. So if you're talking about a student who has not yet started at UT and is planning to start this fall or in the summer, all incoming freshmen are advised during orientation. So what they will need to do is register for, and likely you'll come with them to orientation. They'll meet with their advisors. They will actually we have 2-day sessions, so they'll meet with their advisors during day one. They'll have an opportunity to think about what they're going to do. If you all want to meet up afterward and talk a little about what they're going to do. And then on the second day, they'll meet one-on-one with their advisors. They'll talk to them more about what they want to do. And at that point, they'll register for their classes. Once they begin, then what they generally are going to be doing is either scheduling appointments or doing walk-in hours with advisors. They'll meet with those advisors, and there's a time period at which students will be eligible to register. It's based on the number of hours that students have. So they'll want to keep up with when they're able to register. They'll want to meet with their advisor well in advance of that, and then at the day that they're able to, they'll schedule their classes.
And during that
Thank you.
outside of orientation, that's the one time when a student is creating their schedule sitting with an advisor. And so we make sure that they understand how to utilize the system. Then when we meet with them again in the fall, we go over that stuff. But as Jeff mentioned, when registration opens is different. For students based on the hours they completed, you're typically going to register for classes outside of that appointment with their advisor.
Okay, so the next question we have is a dual enrollment student entering with 58 plus credits being accepted to the College of Arts and Sciences. What is the timing that you'll need to declare? And I think we have a follow-up to that there on the bottom as well. As we're kind of preparing our answer, just direct us if we need more information. We'll be happy to get as specific as we can in this kind of public forum. But so basically, what is the timing in which he'll need to declare a major?
So even a student who's entering the college with 58 dual enrollment hours, if they know exactly what they want to do and they have taken some courses in that, then the advisor will have that conversation with them, and that would likely be progressing to a faculty advisor prior to a lot of the other freshmen who are in their class. If the student isn't 100%, then that's the student that we talk to about potentially double majoring, because they definitely have the space to do that coming in with 58 hours, or pursuing minors, or lots of study abroad options. So there are a lot of things that that student can do. We would not force them early to declare a major and transition to a faculty advisor if they weren't ready, just because they came in with 58 hours. But I would also expect that a student coming in with 58 hours of dual enrollment credit, that they had some idea of things that they were interested in, realize where they needed to go, any of that kind of stuff. And all students have to take the first year studies 100 class, and all of our students take a first year studies 101 or 129 course as well. So yes, they would need to take the freshman life course, because that's about, they haven't been here yet.
And I'll just add real quickly that even with the number of hours that you have, keep in mind that that first year is as much about making the transition to being a college student as it has anything to do with academics. Some of the very simplest things in the world, like just figuring out where buildings are, is a challenge during your first semester or two. So I think it's good to go on through that first process just with the rest of the freshmen. And you know that we've done a great job of accelerating into your curriculum, into your degree plan, but also understanding that it really frees you up and gives you a little bit of flexibility to just learn learn your way around the school, get to know people, and make that adjustment to being an independent college.
Okay, so the next question we have on chat is, sorry, I lost it there. When do students gain access to the support items such as the course catalog and other pieces you mentioned? My daughter is accepted to the Haslam College of Business for this fall. Will she receive this information at orientation this summer?
Yes, so we will provide our students with a student handbook at orientation during the summer, which will outline the curriculum. The university doesn't print the undergraduate catalog because it's one of those where it's a 500-600 page document. When we were killing the Snuff Forest, when we were doing that for 5,000 incoming students. And so if you go to catalog.utk.edu, a student's catalog can be there at any point. So we do archive those after the year. So we've already got the 2016 undergraduate catalog there. So a student that is interested in kind of getting a jump start of looking through maybe what classes they would take can go ahead and start looking at the catalog now. On our website, undergrad.haslam.edu, we do have a resources page as well, where a student can then go in and see copies of the other useful links, resources, and then other useful. And if you look over on the bottom left-hand side, we do have copies of the student book. We have only published the 2015 at this point. And so a student can go through and start kind of looking at what the curriculum is, the different options, different collaterals. So all of this is available now, but it will be given to students in a booklet form on orientation. And most colleges give some information. It's not necessarily just a business thing, but science is one, education gives information as well.
Okay. So I think we've addressed the next couple of questions that came over via chat. Do advisors have access to AP and dual enrollment at other college courses on file for the student at orientation, with the assumption that all of these have been reported to the admissions office?
So with AP scores, if it's something that they took in their senior year, that's not here yet. And so we don't have that. And so advisors will talk to students about what they anticipate making on the exam, and then we make plans based on if that happens or if it doesn't. The other AP scores, if they did it, it may or may not be here yet. Same with dual enrollment credit. But if students tell us that information and bring that information with them, that's what advisors take into account while they're talking and meeting with the students during orientation. So we do take that information into account, but it's really important, and please tell your student to share that information with us and not to make an assumption that we already have it.
And also it is important just kind of anecdotally to specify whether it's AP Calculus AB or BC, right, or English Literature or English Composition that they took. Maybe it's both, but if they took one and they got a 4 on the AP exam, it does matter which AP English it was or which AP Calculus it was. Those two are specific because they're popular, but they will count for different courses depending on if it was the AB or the BC.
Right, and someone did mention AP scores aren't out until July 10th, and we know that, and so we're talking to a student about how they felt about it, and that's why we've come up with multiple plans.
So the next one we have is if an incoming freshman in the College of Nursing, do they have a professional advisor the entire 4 years or just the junior, senior year?
This is actually a really good question because it brings up something that's applicable to all students in all colleges. With the College of Nursing, they do have professional advisors that are available to those students, and the model is that for their advising, they'll have access to those professional advisors, but there are also faculty who serve as mentors in the college. And the reason why there's a distinction in the terminology of advisor and mentor is that the faculty at UT have been hired and work here specifically because they're experts in their field. And it's something that we want students to start thinking about from day one, to connect with the faculty. Start finding people who have research and do work in areas that they have an interest, and start making those connections with them for several reasons. First, it's most important for students in that on a very practical level, when they get finished, they're either going to be going to graduate school or to a professional program or looking for a job, and they're going to have references. And the quality of those references is directly related to the amount of time they've had to work with those faculty. Faculty do not get out and seek out students. The students have to be proactive, like I mentioned before. And so with the College of Nursing, just using that as an example, student will have access to those professional advisors, but it's really going to be a great decision for them as quickly as they can to get out, get to meeting the nursing faculty, and have as many opportunities as they can to work with them. And I hope that answered the question, but it's something that we really try to press on students. During that first year, students tend to be involved in a lot of different things, but when you think about how long it takes to get to know somebody well enough that you trust them to speak on your behalf, 4 years disappears very quickly. So we want students to start early and get to know people.
Okay, we've got a couple more on the chat, and then I'll ask and see if we have any more from anyone on the phone. The next one is, I have a very general question for the Haslam College of Business advisors. Why is it that the advising appointments online through Grades First are always marked as NA every day, and every time is NA for 4 weeks on end? The students cannot register for a time and have to go sit for hours on end for walk-in advising. There has to be a better way. The check-in person has told my daughter that they only do walk-ins now and no appointments. Is that true?
No, that's not true. We open academic advising appointments 1 week into the future. We don't feel like we can open the entire semester, because invariably what happens is something occurs and an advisor has to remove their academic advisor for a period of time in order to deal with other responsibilities, and then we have to cancel a bunch of appointments. So we only open academic advising 1 week into the future, and each morning a student can look to see what appointments are available in the future 1 week. We've had problems with students making academic advising appointments and not showing up for those appointments. That prevents another student from taking that appointment. So we encourage students to ensure that if they make an advising appointment, they attend that appointment and not prevent another student from taking that appointment. Also, in the last semester, our office lost 3 academic advisors. And we've been working on hiring more academic advisors to make up for that shortfall. We've also gotten permission from the Dean of the College to hire 2 new additional academic advisors. So if a student is struggling to get an academic advising appointment right now, it will improve. They need to make sure that they go in, look for an appointment 1 week in the future, and then ensure that they show up for that.
Okay. So the next question that we have is, how much time will each student have with their advisor?
So during, for our college, for an advising appointment during the semester, students get 30 minutes with their advisor. That's what we book our appointments on. But that does not mean that a student can only book one appointment. They can book numerous appointments throughout the semester. So if they come in on the very first appointment and they have a bunch of questions regarding what do I want to major in, what classes should I look at, I'm thinking about citizenship or thinking about studying abroad, that might be 1 or 2 or 3 appointments. So there might be additional follow-up the student needs to do between appointment 1 and 2. And then that way we can make sure they need in order to get their questions answered and make sure that they're planning forward. During orientation, colleges have moved 20-minute advising appointments because we've spent 2.5 hours with the students the day before. We then sit down and meet with them for 20 minutes and really, what they need in order to be successful and get the information that they need. So that's how the Haslam College does it. So.
That's what we do in arts and sciences as well. And we also try to encourage students to keep time if they are 30-minute appointments. And if they know that they have a lot of things that they want to talk about, we are here all the time, except for when the university is closed. There's someone in our office who can meet with students for advising. So we try to encourage students to come in early. Like if you want to explore internship possibilities and talk about major possibilities and all of that kind of stuff, coming in earlier in the semester is a great time to do that because we have the appointments and the availability. And so please help us in encouraging your student to do that. What they'll have a hard time with is trying to get 2 appointments during the heavy registration period close together because it's the registration period. But we are happy to, as our advisors across campus, to meet with students more than once. We just can't necessarily do that in a 2-week time frame once registration opens.
I would say add one other thing about the time that students have with their advisors, and that is this, when we go back to the student responsibility, the amount of preparation a student puts in prior to that appointment directly affects the quality of that appointment. And so, it's often sometimes something that we see the students come in and hadn't really put much thought into it, and it's okay, but it does mean that the process that they may have spent on their own, thinking through what they would like to do the next semester, some things that they've been thinking about majoring in or some interest areas and things like that, if they haven't put that thought through, then that becomes the conversation with the advisor, and you can see how that sort of moves back progress and meeting. That's where maybe sometimes students actually are looking to have multiple appointments with an advisor. So I'd recommend that if you have a chance to talk to them about it, if they spend just a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes thinking about what they want to do and prepare with some questions. The students who show up with a list of questions are the ones that we know right out of the gate are going to have a really good productive session with them.
Okay, does anybody else, we've gone through our questions here on the text chat. Does anybody else have any questions that we can answer for you either via chat or, feel free to speak up and verbalize those now if you're on the phone.
So thank you all for investing the time today. I have a quick question. I'll try to keep it generic. In terms of general education requirements, I see one place that there appear to be some 14 courses in another area or a major public administration, for example. There's 59 hours of general ed. How long do they have? At what point in their 8-semester experience does the filter kind of constrict to a point where a major needs to be declared?
For business, we normally have our students declare within the first 25 hours. That's the first 5 semesters. We see most of our students, though, declare that major at the end of their sophomore year. So by the completion of 60 hours is really when we see most of our students declare that. So they're at that point they're finishing up the majority of they're finishing up the tracking courses that we also look at. There might be 1 or 2 general education courses that they still have open. But the part that I like about the curriculum in the college is that for business, regardless of if you want to major in accounting or if you want to major in supply chain management or administration, you are taking the same general education and you're taking the same, the same tracking courses. So if a student comes in and says, hey, I want to major in accounting, but then they get to the point of declaration of that major and they say, no, I want to do supply chain, our students have not looked around at that point because they're all taking that same courses. It's in that third and fourth year for business when a student starts to, kind of go on their different pathways. Now, arts and sciences might be a little bit different because they offer more or so.
Right. So I would say, generally speaking, an advisor is the best resource for a student when they tell us as many things that they're thinking of as possible. Because there are definitely ways within our gen ed to keep options open, but if there's something that a student is really thinking about considering and they haven't mentioned it, then it makes it harder for us to help them keep those options open. So what we do with students a lot in our compliance is we see exploratory students as well who really aren't sure direction-wise where they want to go, is students knowing what they're not interested in is as helpful as them knowing what they are. So if they know that they are not interested in pursuing a hard science, like that knocks out some gen ed stuff in terms of fulfilling requirements, and it helps make it easier in terms of keeping options open. I wanted to start off by saying that, but then we also want students to declare something by the end of their fourth semester, and that's a university-wide policy. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, anyone else via phone or chat? As I mentioned previously, we have been recording this, both the audio and the video. We're going to post this online. We'll also have access to the PowerPoint presentation that these staff members used as well. So we will make sure that we have all this in an archived version so that you all can reference it later. And we just appreciate you all being involved, being present here today. Thank you for participating in our first webinar. As I mentioned, we're going to do one next week, next Wednesday, for the Student Success Center. Then we'll talk a lot about supplemental instruction, academic coaching, tutoring resources, all the things that they do in the Student Success Center. So again, thank you all, and have a great rest of your afternoon.